Hello, I'm Dr. Cate Hummel, and today we're going to talk about taking care of our flutes and keeping them clean, especially maybe even doing some deep cleaning on our flutes. So let's get started. So here's the flute. Okay, now one of the most important things that you can do to keep your flute clean is to swab it out every time you play it. Okay, so when you're finished, you want to make sure you got your cleaning rod. You should have there we go. You should have your cleaning rod, and you should have a nice swabbing cloth. Okay. You can use a piece of a soft t-shirt. These are really lovely though. These are by a company called Beaumont. And you can get them like Quinlan and Fabish or PM Music or wherever your local music stores are. So what do? You're gonna take the end of the swab and thread it through like that. Okay. And you have a small cloth so you can just push it straight through the flute. Okay, I like to do it through the body in the same direction that the air would be going. So I start up here at the tenon and I push it down through like this. Okay. Now when you get to the head joint, when you get to the head joint, it's really important to take your cloth then and wrap it over your cleaning rod, okay? Because when you put this up here, you want to make sure that you get all that moisture out of the top that's up here, okay? Because there's a plate in there, and then there's a piece of cork, and then you've got, of course, the crown attaches to the screw that goes through the cork. Okay, so it's really important to clean out your head joint. Okay. So that's just routine stuff. As I said, you should do it every single day, every time you play, because otherwise, some really nasty stuff can grow up in your flute. And if you just keep it clean, you swab it out, swab that moisture out, you're good. And it's much better to use a cloth and a cleaning rod like this than it is if you've seen those fuzzy stick things that some people stick in their flutes. Well, that actually holds moisture on the inside of the flute, and it's actually not good for the instrument at all. They call them pad savers. Well, I call them pad destroyers, pad rotters. Mold can grow. I mean, you just don't use those things. Or if you're going to use it, swab it out with a cleaning rod and a rag first, and then you can stick it in with that thing dry. Okay, so you're not actually holding moisture in the instrument. Okay, so let's see. Now let's say you want to do a more thorough, deep cleaning, so to speak. These are really inexpensive, and they should be getting somewhat easier to find now. I mean, for a while there, they've been a little hard to find. So they're just little alcohol prep pads, okay? So if you go to the doctor, for example, and they give you a shot, chances are they're going to rub this on your skin to kill any germs. So you just take that, and you're going to open it up, and so you have a little thing that looks like this. And then you're going to take your head joint, and then you can just rub the lip plate. And the other thing I like to do with this is I like to roll it up a little bit. Let's see, like this. Then I'm going to stick it in the blowhole and clean all, just using my finger. Just clean in that blowhole. And there's always, if you play, you're always going to have a little bit of buildup, because of course when you're blowing, there's, whatever's in your mouth is going to go into the flute a little bit. So it's another reason why you don't want to just eat and start playing. So there you go. So you clean that out like this. Let's see, what other things that you can do with these prep pads? I like them for cleaning the tenons. So this is my head joint. So I'll clean my tenon like this. And then I'll take this part like this, and I'll also clean inside there. Okay, so that's pretty easy to do. And then take the other end, same thing. Gonna clean the outside of it on the body joint. Okay, And then same thing. And then you're going to take it on the foot joint, like that. So that's pretty simple. Okay. Another thing that I will do sometimes is, again, I'll roll up this little prep pad. So I'm rolling it up so you can see. There you go. And, alright, so then I just take it and I just put it into the hole. So this is if you've got an open hole flute. This is not going to apply if you don't have an open hole flute. But I like to just put it in the holes because sometimes, because you're touching it all the time, even if your hands are really clean, this is still going to get a little dirty. So I just clean out those little holes. You want to be careful though. You don't want to get the alcohol near the pads. Okay, that's extremely important. You just don't want to get that near the pads. Okay, so you clean out all those holes, and there's that. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you can take a Q-tip, and I've got some alcohol here. See there, there's my alcohol. And you're just going to dip it in the alcohol so you get it wet. And you can do similar kind of thing here. So you can take the Q-tip and just go on the inside of that blowhole. Sometimes you'll get more out of it. You'll get more gunk out of it doing it this way. Another thing you can do is if you can gently bend that Q-tip so it doesn't break. And then gently stick it through the hole and then put it up. Let's see if you can see. So you put it up so it's up against that plate and go as much as you can around there, because no matter how often you swab, there's always going to be a little bit of stuff like all the way up in there. But I would say that's probably the most that you want to do. Ooh, that's kind of gross. I think maybe I'll should do this more often. So yeah, just clean up around the plate and clean inside the blowhole. And you also can take the Q-tip again. You'll get it damp. And you don't want it to be like super wet, just damp. Okay, so then again, you can just take it and clean inside the holes if you've got an open hole flute. If you've got a closed hole flute, you don't have to worry about this at all. You can just take it like that. It's real easy to do. Okay. Let's see. What else can I show you? It's good to have a microfiber cloth. So here's a microfiber cloth. Okay, so this is different than my swab cloth. Okay, this is very fine. Okay, and it's really good for removing fingerprints. And when I'm doing this kind of thing, I'm very careful. I want to stay away from the keys. Just want to stay away from the keys. But as you can see, it really takes the fingerprints off the flute really nicely. So just go down the body. So as you can see, I'm going down the body, but I'm staying away from the pads, okay? That's kind of a big no-no. It's like you don't want to be rubbing against the pads because you'll wind up having to replace the pads. They'll get frayed. So you just want to be real careful, work around the... very important, too, is keep stuff from out... You don't want to be putting things in between the keys, okay? You can do a lot of damage. You can bend springs. You can use those little bumpers on the back of your keys. You can lose those if you get too enthusiastic doing this kind of stuff. That is the kind of thing that you want to leave to a repair person. Okay? So you just wipe your flute down. You could take one of those prep pads if you want, if you're concerned about germs, and who isn't these days. Take one of those pads and then gently just wipe the top of the keys. Again, you want to keep the alcohol away from the pads themselves. So that's of course underneath the key cups. So you can wipe off the keys like that, just very gently, where your fingers touch. But you don't want to get real enthusiastic about this. It's not necessary. You know, and when you take your flute in for repairs, hopefully you're doing that every year or 18 months at the most. The repair person will clean things up, take it apart. They'll get all, you know, they'll get the tarnish out from underneath between the keys and stuff like that. That's not our job as players. That's for the repair people to do. So you use that silver cloth, the microfiber cloth to take off fingerprints. And that's pretty much all you need to do to take care of your flute. So, another important thing. You don't ever want to lay the claws inside the case and then close the case on top of it. It's actually very bad for your flute because it's putting pressure against the keys. You should have a case cover. Or if you don't have a case cover, get yourself a little pouch. Okay, so you don't want to ever lay something on top of the flute. You don't want to put the cloth on top of the flute. So get yourself a little pouch, and you can tie that to the handle of your flute case if you have that kind of case. If you've got a case more like this one, you've got a case cover. So I'll show you my case cover. So this one's kind of a fancy one, but then I've got kind of a fancy flute. You can put your rags and your cleaning rod and everything into your case cover. So there's the case, and you can see my rags and stuff are all in there. So, and then I guess just close up the case cover and you're good to go. Okay? And your flute will stay in better repair for longer, and you're not going to hurt the flute either. So there you go. Have fun and take good care of your instruments.